Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. We want to welcome you guys to another episode of the You Thrive Every Day show, where we show you how thrivers thrive. Today, I have a very special guest, very special, very dear friend of mine. So, Shonda, please introduce yourself to our audience and let them know where you were born and raised.
My name is Rashandra. I prefer to be called Sunshine. I was born in Little Rock, Arkansas. However, I was raised in San Diego, California.
Okay, Sunshine. I didn't know you preferred to be called Sunshine.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so how old were you when you left Little Rock?
I was just a little girl. So I don't remember the exact age, but I was very young. Um, Came here, only got to go back to Arkansas during the summertime because that's where my father lived.
Okay, so you moved to San Diego with your mother.
Yes.
Okay, and so how many siblings do you have?
Oh my God. I don't even know. In all actuality. However, my mother has 8 children and my father has, I'm still counting. Um,
Okay.
he has a number of children. I would say 14 plus that I
Oh
know.
my goodness.
Yeah, so
So your mother birthed 8 children
correct.
and your father has XYZ.
Papa was a Rolling Stone. Yeah,
Yes. So do you know any of your father's children?
I do. Wow, this is crazy to even say it, but my eldest sister and my mother were actually best friends.
Okay.
So I know at least 12 of my siblings.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a lot of nieces and nephews. That's a lot.
Yeah, I am a great aunt, so
Oh my goodness.
too many of them. I don't know them all, unfortunately. I would love to, but it's a lot of them. A whole lot of them.
So, as far as the children that your mother birthed, how far down the line are you?
I am the eldest of those children.
Oh, okay. So you big mama. Okay. So kind of take me through this journey. So you were very little when you guys left Arkansas. So at that point, was it just you and your mother, or did she
Right.
have
So
other kids?
my brother came after me, 2 years after me. And so And then, like clockwork, it was myself, which is a girl, then I had a brother, then I had a sister, then I had another brother. So we kind of stair step, boy, girl, boy, girl. Um, all of my siblings have the same father. Um, he wasn't really around much from the time we were kids. So my mom basically was a single mom of all those kids. She worked a lot. She did what she had to do, period, to take care of all of us. We never missed a beat. She always had us in a beautiful home. I don't think we were ever hungry. We might not have eaten food that we liked all the time, but we were never hungry. My mom was a very hardworking lady.
Right.
And because of that, I was probably a mom at an early age, because I was the one always taking care of everything, and making sure my siblings were okay when my mom wasn't home. So, yep.
Wow. Okay, so you said that stepdad wasn't home. Was it because he was working a lot, or he was just in and out?
No, he actually was in and out of prison.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He went to jail, got out, made a baby, went back to jail like clockwork. So it's kind of a pattern. He actually was a drug addict. Um, I think that my mom probably tried to keep the relationship together and ride it out just because it was a father of her children and because of so many children. I do believe that she loved them. However, there was drug addiction there that began to affect our family. And so that's when I want to say around the age 10 is when my mom cut it. It was like no more. Um,
Okay. And
yeah,
was it you? Do you know what he was addicted to?
crack.
No, I mean you have to ask because okay, look.
No, I know. I'm,
We're gonna
I'm
keep it real because we are 80s babies and it was a crack epidemic, but
it was definitely crack.
you are also on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? So on the West Coast, like crystal meth is super, you know what I'm saying?
Crack.
Super popular.
I
Yeah.
believe that it was crack, though that was his addiction. I'm not really sure. There's things that I found out when I got a little older that I didn't that I was not aware of. Like I wasn't just aware that he was a crackhead back in the day. What I do remember is going down to the county jail, to visit him and seeing him behind the glass. And my mom would have all her children, and we would all just be lined up going on a little family field trip. And we didn't have like a car then, so we were all on the bus. And then after we would go to McDonald's and we would get this little section in the corner. There used to be a McDonald's downtown San Diego that everybody went to when they went downtown. And we'd be in there. She'd make us say our prayers. I used to be embarrassed because it was so many of us. And then we in there saying prayers and eating these little meals. And, it just was a lot to
Why do
handle.
you think you were embarrassed?
Because I
I
just felt
didn't.
like it was a lot of us. It was a lot. It was a lot of us. And I don't think that I realized that I was embarrassed back then. I'm saying that now because those are that's the best way I know how to put it, with having to be on the bus with all those kids. I think that I probably was embarrassed for my mom, but also embarrassed for myself. I just thought it was a lot to handle at that time. So
So take me through your childhood a little bit. I mean, because to be the eldest, especially the girl of 8 children in itself with the mother that works a lot, you know what I'm saying? Like you're a kid kind of helping raise other children and you know what I'm saying? You're not even an
pretty
adult.
much.
Like,
So yeah, I was I didn't think that I was the mom back then, but now that I'm older, I hear my siblings say, when they get upset, well, Shonda was our mom. You were not there, and that's not what I got out of it growing up. But I hear them say that, so I know that they looked at me in that respect. It was difficult for me because I was the oldest, and there was a lot of pressure. Um, because I had to make sure things were okay. And I didn't understand everything that my mom did back then. I felt like she was the devil because I don't know why you got me watching all these kids. And then I would have family members, like one of my uncles, for instance, he would come whisper things to me. Are you supposed to be watching all them kids? And so I started to like have this resentment towards my mom because I'm taking care of all these kids. And although I didn't have to do a whole lot, I kind of just like played house, played school. I made them like do work. I made them play church. I would play choir with them, just doing what I thought was the right thing to do to keep them in line. Um, and as we got older, it became a little more difficult because they began to challenge me. They started being teenagers and they thought they could talk back to me. And then when I would bop them or something upside their heads, then I was wrong. And so, I mean, that might sound crazy, but it was a lot of violence,
yeah.
and it was coming from me because I wanted things the way that I wanted them. That was the only control that I had. Everything else was out of control. So taking care of my siblings, there was a sense of control. There was a sense of responsibility there for me. Um, it was difficult. It was difficult watching my mom work so much. It was difficult watching and listening to family members. So let me just back up a little bit. There were times where we had to move out of our home because it was too difficult for my mother, and we would have to go stay with a family member. Now, mind you, my mother was someone who took care of everyone. So I didn't understand what going to live with family members, why I would hear these conversations about my mom and all her kids. It was a big thing because it was so many of us. So when we came, we invaded whoever's space. They would call us the football team or the baseball team. And those little things, it was funny in the moment, but I think that they impacted me. They made me feel some type of way, and I internalized it. And I said that, we were too much. We didn't belong. And so growing up with that, I had this resentment towards my family. I would hear them, like I said, talk about my mom, and because my mom took care of everyone, I just was like, something wrong with this lady. Like, you take care of everybody, and these people don't appreciate you. What is your problem? But what I didn't know then is that my mom was someone who carried a love that most people can't handle or give. Um, and that's probably why she was so blessed, because she was always being a blessing to people. Um, Let me see. As far as my siblings are concerned,
So as
and
far as I know, like you said, you guys as siblings had spats, you know, and your authority was challenged. But what other kind of things were going on in the home as far as conflict, you know, because you guys are super young, you know what I mean? And now being older, looking back on coping skills, how to deal with emotions, you know what I'm saying? And you
I
guys are
think
kind of
I think we were just kind of left to deal with those things on our own for the most part. My mother had me when she was 16, so I don't know that she had what she needed. Her mother was murdered when she was only 2.5 years old, so she grew up with her aunt and her grandmother. Um, and so I don't believe that she got the love and affection, that she needed per se. I believe that it was there, but not in the capacity that she may have needed it. So I wasn't used to getting hugs and mom saying I love you, or my mom didn't sit me down and talk about certain things. In her mind, she did it. In her mind, if she said, girl, if you don't do this, are you gonna be pregnant, or that was the nature of the conversation, for me. But as my siblings got older, there were things that my mother actually did with them. So I don't know if I'm answering your question correctly, but there wasn't the only the conflict that really went on in the house is my mom wanting things to be in order because she worked so much. So she felt like, her house should be cleaned. We shouldn't be having all these people come over, our friends, in the home. But it was nothing like the fighting and stuff just came from us just naturally being girls and boys and being siblings. Um, I think that I thought back then that my mom loved my siblings more than me. I felt like I was treated differently, not just by my mother, but by I grew up in I knew my mother's family, who she came here to live with in California. I knew them. I was around them. I had a relationship with them. However, I was raised in my siblings' family with their family members. So there was always a distinct difference, between me and my siblings. I would hear conversations that I wasn't supposed to have. So I knew these things. And then when I would speak out or I would say certain things, I was the kid with the smart mouth, with the bad attitude. So that was really the only conflict, is that I had a bad mouth. Like, and maybe it wasn't bad, it was just that I spoke in a time where people felt like kids needed to be seen and not heard.
right.
But I always had a voice until I didn't have a voice.
So tell me what's going on between you and your mother at this point, because situations like that it could go left or right. You know, there could
Right.
be a competition or there could be resentment. There, you know, that's a situation where there's a lot of
I
probable
believe
outcomes.
I believe that all of that has transpired over the years. I believe that at some point I began to compete with my mother, or start telling myself, well, I'm not going to do things like this, or I'm not going to be like her. But for the most part, I think there was so much trauma in the relationship with me and my mother, because I believe she saw herself in me, and some of the things that she was not able to do or um, accomplish that could have bothered her. That was my thought process. Like, there could have been some jealousy, right? That's what I thought. I don't think that now, but that's what I thought. But I also hated my mother. I hated my mother because I felt like she hated me. And I felt like she hated me because how she handled me. She was very firm with me, very strong with me. I felt like I wanted her to nurture me more. but I just always got the hammer. That was my perception. And because I was always running my mouth, I was always in trouble. And then I watched how she allowed other people to treat her, and I resented her for that. I didn't like that she would still allow this family member to come live with us after this lady just disrespected you. Or, they would come in and they would eat and they would take things, and just, it was their home basically. I didn't like that. I didn't like how all these people in this family, that these people don't even really like you for real. They might love you. They don't like you. They just tolerate you because you got all these kids with their family member. That's how I felt. I felt like she just did a whole lot and people misused her. So for me, she was weak.
And so
That's how I viewed her.
how was that displayed in your behavior?
I would challenge her. I would challenge her on everything. Like every time she said something, I had a rebuttal. I had something to say back. I was very rebellious. I couldn't really go anywhere. She didn't let me go many places, but when I did go, I would sneak out or I would run away. Um, or I would have all my siblings with me on the bus, you know, and that was not fun because I'm pulling up at a friend's house or trying to go see a boy, and I got all these kids with me, and it's like, dang, ain't got no breathing room. So that's just how it was. It just was what it was, and um, like I said, I was very rebellious. I would do things to try to get away. I ran away a few times just because I just felt like it was too much. One time they didn't say happy birthday to me, so I was like, oh, y'all want to say happy birthday, but I didn't know they was planning something for me. It was just that I had all these other perceptions about things going. They were planning something. Well, my mother was, but ain't nobody say happy birthday to me. It's my birthday. Y'all ain't say happy birthday. I'm turning 16 years old. Oh, that's what y'all want to do? All right. So I bounced. I disappeared for a few days. And she found me because my big cousin in her big mouth told my mama where I was at. You know who you are if you ever see this. She told my mother where I was, and my mom pulled up, came and got me, and bopped me right inside my hair, right where I was. Embarrassing. So now you're embarrassing me more because you hitting me in front of these people. So I think that my mom just did what she knew how to do. Um, I love my mom though. I love the relationship that I have with her. She is an amazing woman. She is very resilient. And she has a heart of gold. And so, for all the negative things that I've looked at about her, there were so many more beautiful things about her that as I matured and began to see the truth of what was really going on, I just grew a different type of respect for her. And this only happened a few years ago, literally. I'm getting ready to be, I think, 38 this year. Um, yeah, 38. Anyhow, and so I don't know. I just honestly, as a child, you perceive things differently than adults.
Of course.
And so we internalize when it's too complicated for us. We take it on as if it's something that's deliberately being done to us, and then we hold on to these things and we lash out when we get the first. When you turn 16, 17, you start smelling yourself, you think you've grown, and now I'm about to go live this life. I'm about to have this, and this, and I'm gonna do it like this, and ain't nobody gonna tell me nothing. And we have this kind of funky attitude about it when in reality, these parents are just giving us what the only thing they know how to give us, and that's what they will give.
Exactly. So
Um,
through teenagehood, now that you are a teenager, that's like 15, 16 years old, you know what I'm saying? And now your siblings are starting to get a little bit older. What's going on now? Like what is your behavior like? What are you doing at this age?
my behavior was so first of all, I lost my virginity when I was almost 14 years old. There was a guy from my church. We were at one of our friends' house. I ain't gonna put nobody on blast today on the You Thrive show. But we were somewhere and everybody was getting it in, I was still a virgin at that time. But this guy, he paid me some attention. I didn't have that. Let me go back to that. I didn't have that protection that I needed for those conversations, not even from my biological father. I didn't have any male safety to tell me that this is the right way, that's the right way, or not the right way, I'm sorry. And so the first thing that blew my way, you know, I just was like, okay, this older man is feeling me. He was like 17, so it shouldn't have never happened, but it did. And so um, we commenced to getting it in, and I didn't want to do it anymore because it was just too much for me. Like it was just a lot. So that day, to me, I lost my virginity because I let him put his little private part in me, right? However, I took that was a turning point for me. Like I started that was a starting journey for me with men. Like that happened, and then the relationship didn't work out, and then I was traumatized by that because in my mind, if I'm doing this with you, if I'm giving myself to you, then we're going to be together, or we should be together. But that didn't happen. He ended up sleeping with several of my friends, so he was just who he was. And so from there was another guy that I met that I really liked. I ended up having sex with him. For me, sex was an escape from everything that I was feeling. So I want to say that I had an addiction to having sex. Not that sex is bad, because it's not. However, how it's used, I think, can become a problem. So I became very promiscuous in the sense that I didn't just go out sleeping with a whole lot of men, but that door was open to promiscuity. Um, so I would get in these relationships and I would do whatever at a young age, whatever it took to keep that going, to hold on to these relationships. And it was the same pattern up until I got divorced from my ex-husband. Not even after that, up until maybe a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, same pattern. Um, because I didn't recognize what was really going on, and that was that I wasn't okay with me. So, like I said, promiscuity. I, I became a seductress. Um, at 17, I was hanging out with some older girls. Actually, I met this older guy at my high school, and I had on this. I'll never forget. I had on a black leather dress. I used to dress like a whole grown woman at school. And my teachers used to hit on me. They used to say sexual things to me. So um, I just thought that I was sexy because that's what I would always hear. My teachers is telling me I'm sexy. They was buying me lunch. Like I was being set up to be a hoe from the jump, basically. Like that's how I was being handled. Um, and so moving forward, at 17, I met a guy. He came to my school. His brother was a celebrity, and so it was a challenge for me. I never really like try to get with guys, but this guy was like, everybody was like, "Girl, he ain't gonna talk to you," and I was like, "Oh, he gonna talk to me? Watch." Right? Unfortunately, I shouldn't have did that, but I did. He talked to me. Actually, gave me, remember, two ways. He gave me his two-way number. Okay, so got the two-way number, page number, all that stuff or whatever, and we started talking. This old man kind of, he went down on me, blew my little mind, and from there it was just like I had to be with him forever. However, this man had a whole nother family that he was lying about. Okay, he was lying, talking about he wasn't in a relationship with his baby mama. They was just doing it for the kids. That wasn't the case. So I get with this older guy, going through
How
all
much
these
older
transitions.
was he?
I was 17, he was 27. So that shouldn't have never happened, right? And I keep saying that because when you think you've grown, you think you can do grown things and you put yourself in positions because you've grown and you want to be grown. That's, I can't stress that you think you've grown enough. Um, there's a lot that we don't know because as a 27-year-old man, you should have never had your eye on, nor should you have slept with a 17-year-old girl. But I was turning 18. That was I guess that was the thing, I was turning 18. So now at 18, I'm traveling, I'm not paying for nothing. I'm going, up to Hollywood, just doing all these things where I thought I was just all that. School, I started failing in school in the sense that I didn't want to go to school no more because what was going on at school wasn't interesting to me. Dropped out senior year. I am a high school graduate now, but I dropped out. And I just was living my life, and it was a toxic relationship. He could do whatever. He would try to bring different people into the relationship. He would try to have me doing all kinds of stuff that I really wasn't okay with, but because I didn't want to let him go, again, now I'm doing things to try to please another man. And so I'm trying to like sum it all up. So in this relationship,
No,
this
so
happened.
I mean, if you're comfortable furthering that, what do you mean? Like he had you doing things that like you really
No,
didn't
he
want to
tried to
do?
have me doing things
Well, he
like
tried to have you doing things like
um
what?
as a matter of fact, let me be completely honest because I don't like women, but I have been sexual with women before for the pleasure of the relationship. Um I don't like women though. Not nothing against all you women that like women, but that's not where I'm at. I have had threesomes before. So that's what I mean by introducing me to things that were not familiar to me. Um, and even threatening to not be with me if I didn't do certain things. And so that's just where I was. And so through the duration of that relationship, it was kind of up and down, off and on. Um, I want to get back to what you asked me though. I was trying not to go too far off because I'm a processor, just so y'all know. And I will have y'all all over the world with me. Um,
It's fine. We were pretty much just the initial thing was what you were going through at teenagehood, you know.
okay, so I know
Yes.
that where I wanted to go. At 17, I went to a strip club and I was able to dance in a club at 17, which was illegal. Okay. I was able to dance, but I made a bunch of money real quick. And I just was like, oh, this is amazing, right? So I was like, one day I'm gonna do this again when I get of age. So at that point, I just did it one time. So moving forward down the line, I became a stripper, and that stripper life turned me into something totally different.
At
So
18
initially,
or how far down the line?
um, I want to say around 19 is when I really started doing it because it was before I got with who my ex-husband was at the time. That's when I was dancing before I got in a relationship with him. He didn't know I was a dancer until I told him about it down the line. Um, but I became a stripper and I didn't really like it. I never liked it, honestly. But it became a game for me. It became a game in the sense that I would find myself talking to men who were married, who had families, and they were giving me their money. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you bastard, like, how is you in here giving this lady money away? So then it became, I'm just gonna rip these niggas off for everything they got because they deserve to be ripped off, then I like, that's where I gained my power from, my strength to try to just do whatever. So I did whatever I feel like I needed to do, told them whatever I feel like they needed to hear for the most part. But most of the time, I was actually honest with these guys. Like, I'm here because I want the money. That's it. I don't want no relationship with you. I don't want to do none of this that you're trying to get me to do. I just want your money. So let me dance for you. But it escalated at some point to not just let me dance for you. Let me grind on you. Let me rub on you. Let me touch you. Let you touch me, you know? And then the money start getting more and more. But I start getting more disgusted with myself. And then there was a lot of things that I've seen in the strip club. I thank God that I never popped pills, that I never did heroin or lines or anything like that. However, I watch some people that I do love and care about go through those transitions, unfortunately, in that lifestyle, being a stripper and being a hoe. Um, and it was just a lot for me.
So
Um, I,
your stint as a dancer, you didn't experiment with any drugs, any alcohol, or
Never,
anything?
never. Now I did have alcohol. I probably, in all the years that I danced, I may have had 5 nights where I was a little woozy, out of control, and that was over some years of time. I literally can count on my hands how many times that I played around with alcohol and just got out of myself, if I can say it that way. And that means that I drank too much to where, I was no longer in I was in an altered state. And that probably was about 5 times. I definitely drank when I was in there, but I never got drunk other than about 5 times. I never did drugs. I smoked weed at some point. I never popped no pills ever. I never did no coke. I never took any of those Xanaxes or like none of that stuff. And so mentally, I feel like I should be completely gone just because of how things go in there. Um,
Well,
Particularly when
that
I run.
says a lot about you as a person to be in that type of environment, kind of sober.
Yeah,
Because I
and I
don't know.
definitely was disconnected from the world. Like I had to be disconnected. Like it was, I don't understand it, honestly. I don't understand how I was able to be in that environment and not get consumed by that environment. Like I personally don't understand it, but by God, but
Do you,
that's
I mean, is it a possibility that because you did have that vendetta, like I'm gonna take you for everything you got, like that was kind of your motivation maybe and your
yeah,
focal point?
absolutely. I believe that. And then I had goals other than that as well. I was raising 2 children that were not biologically mine. Um, at like, I want to say, shortly after I turned 19, I got in this relationship with who is now my ex husband. Um, and he was a gang member. And because he was a gang member and I wanted him to come out of the streets, we would have these conversations. And I'd be like, well, I don't want you to be in the streets because I don't want you to die. I don't want you to get shot because you be doing too much. But I'm a dancer. I make good money. So how about we do this? How about I be the dancer? You make sure you take care of the kids in the household. And that's how we do it. And we gonna build from here. So that's what the plan was, right? However, I was making good money. I was a pretty girl and I was being taken advantage of, bottom line. My money was being used to take care of all the homies, you know, and to make him look like how whatever he wanted to look like. Then I got into selling drugs. It didn't start with him. Let me back up a little. I actually was selling drugs and trafficking before I met him. However, those things that I did before, I used them as, oh, I know how to do this. I was the I was the ride or die basically. It wasn't nothing that I wouldn't do to make sure this family structure was right, and I did any and everything to make sure. I trafficked. I sold drugs. I did a lot. Okay,
What do
unless
you
you want
mean
to get
by traffic?
traffic. Strap myself up sometimes with dope, went to other states, dropped it off, did what I needed to do to make the money, or I would get in a car, drive cross country to drop
And
off
so
the
you were, so all this was happening before the age of 19.
no, after the age of
Okay.
19. I did it before the age of 19. I did it between 17 and 18 because I did it with my ex before this guy, the guy that was the older guy. He actually had me man, I did some crazy, stupid stuff. Yeah. I was in a car with the mother of his children. In my mind, he had me thinking that he wasn't with this lady, but he actually was. Um, and I went all the way to another state, across the world, won't mention any names or places, but I went to those places and did some exchanges as far as drugs are concerned, and I was paid for it. And I was with a woman that was actually with this man, but in my heart and mind, this was my man and I was loving him, which is pretty sick. But I was a naive little girl and that's just what I was doing at the time. And then to get some money for it, it made it even better. you know. I think a lot of things were motivated by money because there were goals that I had from a little girl. I always felt like I wanted to be wealthy. Like I felt like I deserved a wealthy life, and I was just gonna work hard to do whatever. I was selling candy at 10 years old on the candy man, um, getting ripped off by the candy man personally. They was pimping us out. So it's just like you couldn't win back then. Like everybody was pimping kids out. It's not an excuse, but I
It's
just try to keep the truth.
facts. Because
It is
you're
what
a
it is.
sponge at that age. You only know your surroundings and your environment.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's inevitable if
So
that's what your
things
environment.
were set up. I mean, not directly, but indirectly, that lifestyle was being set up. And then my ex-husband, he was always in and out of prison as well, you know. And so it wasn't until years later that I was like, I married my dad, meaning my siblings' biological father. That was the man in my life, right? That was my dad. As a matter of fact, I want to rewind a little bit because I knew that I had a father in Arkansas, but at the age of 10 years old, it was like I knew, but I didn't know, you know. Like my mom didn't allow me to go back and travel until the summertime with, with this man. But that wasn't until I was 10 years old. I wasn't able to go over there until I was able to talk and be able to communicate in case anything happened. So now I have two dads. And my mind didn't really comprehend that, I don't think. I have a dad, and then I have this dad over here in Arkansas. But my dad, who I looked at as dad, I was always in and out of jail. He was having a conversation one time on the phone, and I heard him say that his oldest daughter is not his child. And that did not, I didn't take that well. Internally, I was just like, oh, so I'm not your child. Like, I didn't understand that.
What
And
he
I
was
never had a
saying.
conversation with anyone about it until I got older. But I know that that hurt me deeply. So now the dad that I think that I have now, I'm being rejected by this man. And it makes sense because I'm treated differently, right? Um, but I said all that to say from a very young age, I was conditioned to see certain things and be a part of certain things. My dad was in and out of jail, in and out of prison. And so now here it is, all these years later, not even paying attention to that. I'm with this man that is just like my father in the sense that he's promiscuous. He was in and out of prison. He's always dealing with different women. Those are things that I've seen, even when he didn't think I seen them.
Right.
Like, so that got me to a place where I probably was pretty broken down mentally at a really young age because of all the different things that I experienced. Not necessarily inside of my household, but being at family members' houses and listening to grown-ups and what they had to say. There was a lot going on, a lot. And people were cruel and mean, and I just wanted to get rich so I can get out of these situations. And that stayed in my mind. And I remember having a conversation with one of my aunts. I had to be like 14, 15 years old. I was like, I'm just going to be a stripper, right? And I was saying it in a joking manner, but I said that, and then guess what? I became that. So, yeah,
So at
it's a
night,
lot.
so at 19, now we're fast forwarding a little bit. You're with this guy, and so he has children at this point.
Yes, two children.
Two children. And then so we're back to we're back to how
Back to
we
being
started
single.
life, raising kids.
Yes. Well, I never looked at it that way, but yes, yes. Raising kids, trying to be baby Jesus, trying to be savior. I had a savior complex. Like I wanted to save everybody. I wanted to fix everybody, and wasn't paying attention to the fact that I was broken. But if I can fix or if I can help someone else, it made me feel so good about myself. Um, and so I lost sight of me so that I can become everything everybody else wanted me to be. Everything everybody saw, I became. You know, if they said they saw that I was an artist, I became an artist. You know, I just conformed to whatever I needed to conform to. Um,
And it sounds like you were just searching for approval somewhere, some kind of recognition
absolutely,
that
absolutely.
you never gotten.
And I think that it was that way because I always wanted it for my mom. And I felt like whatever I did was just never enough for her because she was so hard on me. But as an adult, I had a conversation with her and she just let me know that there were some things that she saw in me that she wanted to pull out. But as a child, I didn't get that. As a child, I internalized that as this lady just wants me to die. She was the devil. Like, she was just mean, you know. I did. And I feel bad every time I say that to somebody, but that's how I felt,
Yeah,
you
it's
know.
the
I
reality.
did.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't give me what I needed. Like, I was angry for a long time. And sometimes I still have moments where I get upset. Um, but I know how to handle it now, you
Exactly.
know. And I know how to handle her when we get in certain spaces. And I can do it without being disrespectful.
So now you have these two babies. So how old are his babies at this time?
I want to say that when I started taking, it was almost like instantly, honestly. I started dealing with him and I started taking care of everything. And then he went to jail early on. Okay, went to jail. And while he was in jail, I went to the birthday party of his younger son and took all these gifts. And, you know, I went like I was his woman, you know, taking the place. And everybody was beaming upside my head. People were very angry, especially the little boy's mom. I didn't mean any disrespect. I just felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do as a quote unquote girlfriend. And so I went, I took he was turning 3 at that time. But almost instantaneously, I became like an instant mom. Like, there was some drama that went on between the baby mom and him, and then the kids ended up being at his mom's house. I ended up moving in at his mom's house, and so it just turned out to be that way. And I just started doing whatever needed to be done, whatever they needed. I made sure that they had. They didn't lack for anything, um, especially material things. I was definitely, I never really was a material hoe, but with those kids, I was. Like, not for myself, but those kids had everything. $300 Jordans, like just the dumbest stuff. Just a lot of wasted money. But I had a soft spot for them. And so even though dad wasn't really around like that, those kids, for me, I felt like they needed someone to make up that space. Like, they had their grandmother or whatever. She did what she did. They had lots of other family members. However, I felt like people were not really paying as much of attention to the kids as they needed to. And so, where I really began to take care of these kids was when, um, I want to say I was about 23. I want to say turning 23, somewhere around that age. I ended up getting ready to go take some work, is what we call it, out of town. And I made a promise to the kids. I promised them that they would have a good Christmas, and I promised them that I would be back because they didn't really want me to go. Um, I wasn't married at the time, but I still called him my father-in-law. At the time, he was fighting cancer. I want to say, he was in like stage 3 cancer, and um, my ex-husband's mother and him would get into it, and so she took the older kids and then she left my two stepsons there. And my father-in-law contacted me and he was trying to figure out where we were, like, we both out of town on some other stuff, and he's there, got cancer, and he got these two kids there. And so he's telling me, like, somebody need to take care of these kids. So it reinforced my already um, the heart impression that I already had that these kids needed to be tended to. And so he was like, he was telling me all this stuff, and I just was like, I'm going to be back. I promised them that I would be back before Christmas or whatever. I would make it back for Christmas. Well, meanwhile, I left to go do what I need to do. And while I was gone, I ended up getting arrested, right? And so now I'm facing all these different felony charges, um, felony counts, drugs on all types of counts. They was trying to give me like 9 felonies, and I never been in trouble before. So I'm just like, they trying to kill me. Like they was trying to give me jail time, and because I wouldn't tell, they knew that the drugs weren't mine, but because I wouldn't tell who it belonged to, they were trying to slap me with the maximum on everything. And so I started praying, and at this time, I knew who God was, but I didn't like have a personal relationship with God. And so I'm praying and praying and praying. And I heard to tell my attorney that I was going to take 18 months probation and 1 felony. And I'm thinking these people is not going to listen to me. I don't know where that came from, but I did it. And I told my attorney that. My attorney took it back to the judge, and they granted it, and they let me out on an OR bond. And I got out and I made it back the night before Christmas to these kids. And they were so happy. And so I knew that I never wanted to let them down after that, at that point. And so the lifestyle that I was living, period, my older son told me one time, he said, Mom, I know what you do. And I know that it's not good. Because apparently he seen my bag. He probably was in one of my bags with all the lingeries. And I'm thinking, well, how the hell does 7-year-old little boy know what I'm doing? But he came to me and told me that. And so I'm like, well, you ain't saying that when I'm buying you all this stuff. And so it was a challenge. And I remember being in the car with one of my friends driving up to Los Angeles, I want to say. And I had this dream. And in the dream, I had a dream that Jesus was coming back. Okay. And so it was almost like a reckoning for me. And that was another turning point in my life where I wanted to get out, but I hadn't quite gotten out yet. So there was always this longing to come out, just not knowing how to. Like, how am I going to uphold this lifestyle that I want, be able to have these things? I have a nice apartment. Most people that I know in my family, they're not doing as well as I am. Like, I'm struggling, but I'm doing
Then
good
what's
at
going
it.
on back on the home front, like with mom and the siblings and everything?
Well, at this point, I'm of age and I'm not living.
No, but I'm saying, like, is there any
Oh,
backlash
oh
coming?
no, there was a lot of
Because
things like
they're
that.
also mommy there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, a lot happened. My little brother, like over the course of these years that I'm talking about, one of my little brothers was beaten in the head with a metal bat by some guys in the neighborhood in Linda Vista, um, and he had to learn how to walk and talk and all that stuff all over again. Um, there were a lot of different, I would say, gangs within my mother's home because there were so many kids and we all were a part of some type of crew. And so it was a lot of that type of rivalry going on. Um, Friends coming over trying to fight, people shooting up my mom's car, just different crazy things. So it was pretty crazy, but I disconnected. I felt like at some point I abandoned them. Um, and I beat myself up about that a lot. And I think that's why I handled my siblings. I always just tried to do whatever, to make them happy, or try to be great so that I can do something for them because I felt like I abandoned them in a critical moment of their life. It wasn't my responsibility, however, I was always there normally, and things were halfway normal when I was in the household. Um, but after I left, it was just like my brothers, they was in the streets doing what they wanted to do. And I had no clue, honestly, about anything that they were doing. I disconnected. I fell off from my entire family. I was so consumed with being with whoever I was with at the time, um, that they didn't even, honestly, they didn't matter. Like, I love them. If they called me, if I needed to pull up, if it was a situation, we gonna handle this. But other than that, I was too busy trying to build this make believe family or whatever was going on in my head.
Yeah, you were trying to live your best life. The way
I
you
was
knew
trying to.
how to get your fairy tale was what you was doing, and you were working hard at it. And that's one thing I can always say about you is you've always been goal orientated and goal driven. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I totally know that and witnessed it, that you were doing the best you could with how you knew how to do it. You know what I'm saying? How you knew how to get your results. And so I just went through that just to say this, because at those years from like 19 to like 24, you know, were some very crucial years, and it was a lot going on simultaneously. It was a whole
It
lot
was.
going on. You know, you have a man that you guys are still kind of new in the fact of how much time you guys spent together, because we were kind of reliving the cycle of mothers past, you know, with someone that's in and out of jail. So now you're raising his babies. He has a father that has cancer. You're staying in the home with them. You and the mother don't get along. So like,
We did at first. However, things changed um, when she got was able to get guardianship over the boys. So that was a big conflict. I thought she was my best friend until that happened. So, and again, I don't know if we really want to go into all that, but my stepsons, their biological mother came to me and asked me to take guardianship of them because she felt like I can take care of them better than she could. She was having a bad time in life, and me and her, we had fights and all that. But so for her to come to me and ask me to do that was a big deal for me. She actually went down to the courts with me. We did all the paperwork together. And then when it was time for court, I had already had the felony and everything. And technically, legally, they can't give you guardianship or custody unless you are a family member um, for kids. And so the fact that the mother was trying to tell them that this is the person, that was a help to me, but it still was a judge's decision. And so in the courtroom that day, I knew that I was at every field trip, everything that these kids were doing at school, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like I didn't miss a beat. And so I thought that, I deserved to have the guardianship status. I was doing everything for these kids. Not that grandma wasn't helping out, because she was. It was her house we were living in. But the judge told me that I was a criminal and that he would not release these children into my custody because I was a criminal. And that kind of crushed me. So I snapped out in the courtroom. And I told him, well, if I don't do it, who gonna do it? Because ain't nobody been doing it. And so to calm me down, my mother-in-law said to me, calm down, Shonda, I'll do it. And I'm looking at her like, okay, like you could have been doing it. But the judge heard what she said, and the judge said, is there anyone else in the household that can do it? And because I just didn't want them to become a ward of the state at this point because of the situation, the going back and forth and us being in court, and I didn't want it to look a certain kind of way, I told her, okay, go ahead. She told me nothing was going to change. I had the kids at a very young age, they knew how to clean up after themselves, they had structure. And that's something that they didn't have before. So I gave them stability. And so once she got the guardianship, that stability was taken because now kids ain't supposed to clean up. I don't know if it was a cultural thing for her, but kids ain't supposed to clean up. And I'm the parent and I need to do this and I need to do that. And it became very disrespectful. She was undermining me in front of the children. And she would just challenge everything that I had to say or everything that I did for the kids. And I know at the time that she was receiving money for them. So of course, money, cash rules everything around you, right? People do crazy stuff when it comes to messing with their money. So she was getting money for the kids and she was doing her thing. And she wanted to cut me out. There was no use for me anymore at this point. That's how I felt, at least. I don't know if that was her logic, but that's how I felt. And so At this point, it became very toxic, and to the point where this woman put her hands on me before. And because I knew how much this man loved his mom, and she was one of my elders as well. I don't disrespect my elders for the most part. I will tell you the truth, but I don't. I wouldn't put my hands on the elder. But this lady slapped me several times, and I wanted to bop her upside her head, but I didn't. So I left, and then I left, and I went into another crazy situation because I went to stay with my sister-in-law. She wasn't my sister-in-law then; she was just my boyfriend's sister. But I went to stay with her. This man is in jail while all this is going on. I went to stay with her. I could have went back home to my mom. We had a 7-bedroom house, but I didn't want to. This was my family. This became my family. So I went to stay with her, and every little thing she was hitting my pockets for. I accidentally got a burn on the carpet when the kids came up to visit. Had to pay all these hundreds of dollars for this carpet, like the phone bill. The man wasn't just calling for me, he was talking to his sister too, but I had to pay for everything. So what I did is I just got my grind on. I just did what I had to do, and that is when I got my first little place by myself out in Escondido, California. And I love my little place. I've probably refurbished it, furnished it like several different times, just trying to find what I really wanted. But it was a place of my own, and I made sure that I got everything that the kids needed so that when this man came home, right, from prison, he would have somewhere to live, the kids would have somewhere to live, and we would be a family. And so, because I would desire being a family so much, I created a situation where there was a family. Like I made it happen by all means. And in that process, I won't talk too much about it because I'm still dealing with things. But there was a lot of violence that was going on within the relationship, and it's part of why I think I stayed so long, because I was afraid of a lot of different things. Afraid to leave, afraid to stay, afraid to have my family disrupted. But I was in an abusive relationship for a long time. It became very abusive, mentally, physically, everything. And so years later, I ended up marrying him after I had a daughter. And that was probably the beginning of healing and life for me. So when my daughter
So
came into
so when did you decide to stop dancing and to stop
Oh, so the
like
stop dancing.
selling drugs? Was it when you
Okay.
got pregnant or
So not exactly, because I still did some things when I was pregnant. I danced for a little while when I was pregnant. Um but I only did it when I felt like I really, really needed the money, because I just didn't feel right doing it while I was pregnant. The girls did it all the time. I didn't understand how, but um I was sick most of my pregnancy anyway. Like about 6 months of the pregnancy, I was passing blood clots bigger than tennis balls. Like I kept thinking I was going to lose my daughter. It was a lot of high stress. Um,
and to put it out there too, because that's another part of your colorful story is that Darren is like the miracle baby because you weren't supposed to be able
yeah,
to even
that's
carry a
what they told
child.
me. Right. They were telling me that, first of all, I don't got no endometriosis or nothing else, but I was told that before, and I was told that my chances of having a baby were slim to none. And I was sleeping with this man for all these, for a few years and never got pregnant. So I just thought that it wasn't gonna happen. And then, boop, out of nowhere, getting ready to go to the strip club in Arizona, and I'm sick as a dog, and oh my god, this whole month that went by, I ain't got my period. So found out I was pregnant, and then when I found out I was pregnant, I was told that it wasn't his baby. He ain't want no bit more babies, like just the whole ringer, the things immature people do when they get put in situations that causes change to happen around them. So all the stress from that, I had it in my mind that I wanted to stop actually since the day that I had the dream about Jesus coming back. So I've been wanting to stop. I just didn't know how to do it. And so finally, um, this man kept going in and out of jail. He was there for me to have the baby. Shortly after we had the baby, I just was basically, I pretty much pressured the marriage. If I can be honest, a lot of us don't want to be honest about that, is we pressure people into these situations. But my thing always was, even though it didn't happen the right way, to me, I felt like when I got married or when I had children, I was supposed to be married. Like that's what I was taught based upon my spiritual beliefs. You know, you're supposed to be married before you go having children. And that's something I always desired. It just didn't happen that way. So now I'm in this situation and I'm like, I'm nobody's baby mama. I think that term is so disrespectful. I think that we are mothers of these men's children. We ain't baby mamas. And we say baby mama so casually, like it's not with a negative connotation. It is. It's downplaying who you are as a woman. You are nobody's baby mama. Baby mamas is these ratchet broads out here that just want to be with all this and baby mama drama. And no, I'm nobody's baby mama. Like, you are the father of my child, and either you're gonna marry me or you're gonna leave me alone, because I'm not about to keep sleeping with you. I'm not about to keep creating these situations. So as I start trying to take my power back and creating standards for myself, is when things started happening. Things kind of got worse before they got better. Um, I knew these are not things that I wanted to do anymore, but I didn't know anything else. I did hair. I always did hair. I've been braiding hair since I was 10 years old. But I just know how to do hair, period. I always have. And what I didn't talk about is the fact that I was in school I was going to school for being a medical assistant as well as cosmetology school in this time frame. I don't know the exact. I can't go back into all that, y'all. But in all this time, I was being a dance. I was a dancer. I was trying to go to school. I was trying to go back and get my high school diploma. I was trying to work on me, but it just wasn't working out for me. So everything that I ever wanted to do was put on hold, and I kind of just got tired of not being nobody to myself. Like I felt like I wasn't accomplishing nothing. I wasn't gonna be nothing. Reality set in. The reality was, if you keep on doing what you're doing with this man, girl, you ain't never gonna be nothing in life. You keep on this road, you ain't gonna be shit. Excuse my language. And that would play over and over and over in my head, but I just did not know how to get out. So little by little, I was always praying. That's one thing that I know for sure kept me grounded, is I was always praying. And even though I couldn't see it all the time, everything that I've ever prayed for has come to pass. Everything. And so God help me get out of this situation. Like, help me find a better way to do it. Like, so one day I was reading my Bible and I just felt like God was telling me that I felt like what the scripture was saying to me was what I was against. Like, I didn't want to be a hoe. I didn't want to be labeled as a hoe. I didn't want to be labeled as, this Jezebel or whatever, because of my promiscuity and all this stuff. And so when I was reading the scripture, and I was like, oh my God, I do that. This is me. Like, is this what you say, God? Because if God is saying this how he feel about this type of thing, then, maybe I need to reevaluate some things. So always self-examining myself, always, because I'm always trying to fix me, because I want to be everything to be perfect. That's another problem, y'all. Just trying to be perfect, trying to achieve the best because I wanted approval. Because I never really felt like I got the approval that I wanted. So I dealt with a lot of rejection, perceived rejection, and actual rejection. And so just praying, 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 praying. No matter what happened, I always was praying. And one day I said to God, this is not what I want for my child. I don't want this to happen for her. And I told him, I said, God, if I give you my life, make sure that me and these kids are taken care of. That's all I'm asking, is for us to be able to live. That was the only thing that I wanted in exchange. And God has done above and beyond that. And so at that point, there was a situation that happened when my ex-husband ended up going to prison for a 7-year term. They wanted to give him like 20 something years is what they initially said. That's what was on the table. And I'm telling you, I just was praying and praying and praying and praying. And it was more so about me praying because I didn't want my whole little world to just be crushed, right? This was part of what I thought was my family, even as toxic as it was. So I'm praying and I heard God again. And there was a specific number that he said, and he did it. He said he would get out early, and he got out early. However, over the 7 year stretch, he decided that he wanted to start dealing with another woman while he was inside of prison because I stopped being the yes girl and I started saying no. I started saying, I can't come see you this weekend, or I can't send you a package, or I can't do this, or I can't do that because I was doing all of that and I was losing myself because I was trying to make everything work.
You had a lot going on. So let's like really internalize this too, because I have questions about coping mechanisms. So it's like you become a mommy and you really self-evaluate and you're feeling like you're not living the lifestyle that's in alignment with your spirit at the time. So you
Mm-hmm.
decide that you kind of want to really just let go and let God, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there has been so much that has gone on. And I mean, from, fights with, the mother of your stepson's, you know what I'm trying to say, the mother of
Right.
your stepson, both of them,
Our baby mama. Look.
yeah. Well, yeah, because she was acting like a baby mama. She was
Right.
at some time, so it's things going on with her. At the same time, you're struggling, even though you and this woman started off having a tumultuous relationship. You ended up really trying to keep her and those boys' lives
I did.
as best as you could control. Not only that, just trying to maintain relationships with his family, and taking care of him while he's away. Not only that, but then we cannot forget about the worldly stress, trying to keep a roof over these children's heads, trying to keep a roof over your head at the same time, to making an adjustment to lifestyle, because now where you could literally walk into a location and make cash on hand, you know what I'm saying? Even if you have a bad night, you can whip $100 out of your ass somehow, you know what I'm saying? And at least go home with that. So now there's no longer that type of security, you know what I mean? So mentally, what are you doing to cope? Because
Nothing.
at this point, I mean, like most women, I mean, depression runs heavy in my family, so I'm open with that, and I'm a very sensitive being, in this reality. So I mean, at some point, I think my mind would have kind of like shattered. Like I think I would have been like, y'all pray for me because I'm going to this padded room because this is the only way I see out. You know what I'm saying? But you still held it down and you were taking care of so many people. And then it's like with all that going on in that bubble, you still have outside relationships, you still have friends, you still have siblings and a mother, and they still have life, that kind of indirectly affects you.
Mm-hmm.
So mentally, what the hell is going on and how are you coping?
Mentally, I think, if I can be honest, that I just checked out. I think I lived in a bubble as to where my only goal was to achieve perfection. Like nothing, I didn't see anything outside of that. Like I just had goals to be better and to do better. So if that meant everything in my brain had to shut down for me to feel safe or be safe, that's just what happened. I don't really know. I still, I, I think this is why I say so much that I love my creator. Because I believe that the creator is the reason why I'm here now. Because I always tell people like I should be dead and gone, or like in somebody's mental institute with all that I've experienced. However, like I'm gonna go back to prayer. Um, Prayer is something that's where I find my strength. That's where I find my peace. Um, a lot of people don't like to talk. I don't know that I like to be, how do I say this? So I grew up in a religious institution. However, although there are some things that are religious about me, I hate religion, right? Um, I love God and I know God to be real. And I know that is the only reason why I'm here on this um, You Thrive today, is because He allowed me to come through on the other side of some things so that at some point in my life, I would talk to another woman or even another man and be able to share my story and give people hope and strength that no matter what you go through, if you don't quit, there's always better. It doesn't happen overnight. I'm still struggling. I'm still dealing with things, the effects of domestic violence, the effects of being abandoned or what I perceive to be abandonment in a marriage by my father. My biological father died right when I was getting to know him and actually having a relationship. And I was an adult at this time. And I'm thinking, you abandoned me. Like you left me. I was angry because now you dead. Now what can you do for me? You weren't here for me when I was a kid. And now when we build this relationship, you gonna go get dead. Like I didn't get it. So there's so much trauma that I've experienced. But I'm in a space. I think the main thing is this: no matter what you go through, if you are open for better, better will happen. It will come to you. If you keep an open mind and you don't lose hope, right? Now, I can't tell you what that looks like for you, right? But I can tell you not losing hope for me was no matter what happened to me, I got back up. That's for me success. Success is not quitting, not giving up, you know, starting over again, however many times I have to start over, you know. And now I'm in a space in my life where I'm dealing with things and it's difficult. It hurts, it's painful, but I've learned over time through mentors and, people who love me. Um, and maybe you feel like you don't have that, right? Because you don't feel like people tell you what you want to hear or do things right. But people that love you tell you the truth. And I'm grateful that I had some people that came in my life. They weren't family members necessarily at the time, but they were people who I believe were sent to me as my help. And I cussed them out. They didn't leave. I talked crazy to them. I disrespected them. They didn't leave. And I did that because they tapped into places that made me have to deal with me and deal with the pain and the trauma and the hurt. And a lot of times people discount your pain. Everybody's pain is valid. We all experience pain. I don't care if you're in the church, out of the church. I don't care what it is. We all go through things. Nobody is perfect. And a lot of us have these spaces where we feel like we have to be perfect or we have to be this or we have to be that or we have to do these things so that we can be a part or we can feel loved. But my love and my strength really comes from God. Like I can cut out all the extra BS. I know that that's where my strength comes from, period. And I don't know how to explain it for everybody other than me praying, God answering, and not answering how I want Him to answer all the time, but answering with what I need. It's not always about what we want or what we think we should have, but it's about being open to have a different perspective, being open to look at things another way, being open to know that our shit don't, we stink too, like we put things on people and we go through these relationships, but relationships go two ways. There were some things I wasn't doing right in the relationship with my mother and the relationship with these men. And so I just had to deal with me at the end of the day. Um, and as I deal with me and become my authentic self and not alter, not trying to be something for somebody else, that's how life begins to flow out of me. And I recognize that. So that I go after that now. I go after making sure that I'm not being me. And what does that look like? Sometimes we don't know who the hell we are. It's some work that has to be done because we dug all these graves for ourselves and we're stuck in these holes and these pits and pits of self-doubt, pits of pity, pits of unworthiness, like all these different pits. And it's like, I got out of the pit. Don't even ask me how I got out, but I got up. That's all I know is that I got up. And if you get up, just get up. That's it. Just get up. Just take a steps. Even if you in the pit still, stand up. You made a move that you didn't make before because before you were sitting down. So as you stand up, you just made a new move, right? So as long as you keep on going, you're gonna come out. I'll be like, God, am I going through this again? It's taking forever to deal with this. Like, why do I still feel this? Why am I still experiencing this? But as I'm going through, I'm learning. I'm learning of myself. I'm learning how to deal with people. Um, I'm just learning how to be free, honestly. We live in a world where everything is set up for us to try to be like somebody else or look at somebody else to be the measure. No one is the measure for me. I am my own competition, right? So it took a lot for me to get there to realize that. Like, I'm not trying to be like nobody. I just want to be like me. What was I created for? You know, what am I here for? What am I supposed to be doing? I don't, although there are people that you can look at and be like, oh, they did a good job, but I want to be me. You might be a counselor and I want to be a counselor too, right? But I'm not going to do every single thing you do as a counselor because I'm not you. So you being your authentic self is probably the most beautiful thing in the world. That's just to sum it all up. I think that just becoming, and we're always going to be becoming. We're never going to be in a space as long as we're in this earth that we're not becoming. And that means taking things one day at a time. We don't always have to plan everything out. We just need to go with the flow of life. Whatever comes, deal with it accordingly. If it's too much for you to handle, I'm not going to deal with this today. I'm going to sit this over here and I'm going to be happy today. And that's just how I live my life. I don't have no super spooky explanations or no churched out stuff that these people be out here trying to give y'all. Like, I love God, I trust God, and I follow him. No, I'm being real because
No, I know.
we in the church, and we live in our lives a certain type of way and we trying to be something and all this and live up to these standards that this kingdom, this building, because that's not God's church anyway. We're trying to go off of what the structure of these institutions are telling us to do, or we're over here going off of what we went through in our families and how grandmama them told us we were supposed to live. And grandmama them was born 2,000 years ago. Things ain't the same. Things evolve, things change. And if you're not changing, you're not living. And I just tell God, I just want to breathe. I just want to live, right? That's it. I just want to live. What does that look like? It looks different for everybody. For me, living is doing something for myself. For me, living is being true to myself. Okay, girl, I just looked at that girl. Damn, I really just got jealous. Like, okay, why am I jealous? What do I need to be jealous for? I try to be so honest with myself. I'm probably over honest with myself.
I
It's
don't know
bad.
if there's a such thing.
I don't know either, but I just feel like it gets bad sometimes. Like, because I just put myself in what I mean by that is I put myself in these places where everything is just like it becomes negative after a while, basically. Like I I want to be my authentic self so much, and then I'm so real with myself that sometimes I'm too hard on myself. That's what I mean by that. Like, everything ain't gonna be perfect, and I literally have to remind myself of that, because when you are trying to be, when you have a picture in your mind of what you want to be or what you want to do, and part of that is perfection, it's dangerous because
But see, I totally understand that. And like I just want to offer you something really quick because I'm the same way. Like I like everything to be organized. I like it to go a certain way. If I make plans, like if I construct my whole day and something falls out of that alignment, it irritates the shit out of me. My temper could go from 0 to 100 just because something has been altered. And that's that feeling of perfection. And so what I started to tell myself is, this is the story I tell myself, is that I am perfect right where I am, right while everything is going on. Because if it goes what we call awry or bad or whatever, that's okay because I was supposed to learn something from that. You know what I'm saying? So all my moments are perfect because it is my walk. Now, when we start talking about things that are out of our control, then that's when I think that perfection, the word perfection, does not apply to anything besides self. You know what I mean? And then so when things are not going my way at that moment, that's what I go back to in my head. Like, oh, wait a minute. Everything is perfect and there's nothing to worry about because this is happening as it should. This is my walk right now. So let's go ahead and walk this shit out. You know what I'm saying?
no, that's real. That perspective is a good perspective, actually. Um, However, for me, even though I think that's a great perspective, and I actually try to live by that, I've also been in a state in my mind um, where I would go to that place and like everything's perfect right now. And because of what I've experienced and been through, it also can become this fantasy land as well. And everything ain't perfect. Shit is messed up. So for me, I have to be careful. I agree with what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing at all. I'm just saying personally, for me, because I lived in a world for so long that was made up. I feel like it was a made up world, right? It's dangerous for me to go and tell myself everything's perfect. I understand what you're saying. I think that I just probably, I understand exactly what you're saying. I think that I just process it a different way, if I can say it that way.
Yeah, and
Um,
I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from, but you know, and this is just, these are through my own eyes. It's that everything that you went through, you had to go through. And to me, even just listening to your story, you are the author, you are the creator. You know what I mean? You worked very hard to get a fairy tale, right? But at the time, for where you were in your life and the lessons that you needed to learn, that was your fairy tale. That's what it looked like. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's like, to me, the word fairy tale, the definition on it is some bullshit. Because if it's in you, if you can think it, you can make it, you can believe it, because you can make it materialize. You know what I'm saying? You can bring it into this reality, your fairy tale, because it's your wants, it's your desires. So that means that it's a part of your purpose, it's a part of your reality. You wouldn't feel it if it wasn't a part of your walk. You know what I'm saying? So it's
I
like
do.
once
I
we
understand what you're saying.
release the guilt and of our problems, or the rejection, all these negative feelings that our past situations brought to us, you know, then we can live in that, like, it's okay to have a fairy tale. It's okay to daydream what I want my life to look like, because in the end, that is what I'm trying to create. It's like a prayer, right? Except for they're worded differently, but it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Because when you pray, you speak of what is to be. And the same is with your fairy tale. This is what it's to be. You know what I'm saying? So when we judge our fairy tale and what it's supposed to look, and put these labels on it instead of just going with it, like, this is my fucking fairy tale. This is what I want, and this is what I fucking deserve because I've paid my dues, dude. Like, I went through XYZ, you know what I'm saying? I was putting my time in. You know what I mean? So
I'm
now,
laughing because I'm laughing because my one of my mentors is always telling me, don't judge your situation. Don't judge yourself. Like, she's consistently saying that to me. So that's why I'm like smiling right now, because that is something that I'm still working on. And that comes from being so hard on myself, and feeling like I haven't accomplished what I want to accomplish. And I'm this age and I should have had this done by now. But that's not reality. Reality is, this is where I'm at. There's still more to come, and I'm gonna deal with things as they come. That's the reality.
girl,
That
amen to
made me
that
laugh.
shit.
So yeah.
Because
She's
I was
like,
on that
stop
journey. I
judging
was
yourself.
I was just having this conversation, girl. It's so hilarious about how, like, when you have a belief system for such a long time, like, it's really hard to alter it because you feel it with your whole body. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like, it doesn't feel right. It sometimes it has physical manifestations where your stomach might hurt. It's a total, like, static. You know what I'm saying? And for me, my whole deal was, I come from a family full of hardworking women, and women dominated, you know what I'm saying, my generation and the generation before me, you know what I'm saying? And so I watched my mother work hard, and so that's how I equated my self-worth. Was if I wasn't working hard, you know what I'm saying? It didn't matter what the hell I was doing. If I wasn't working hard, then I felt like shit. It got to the point to where days where I took a day off just to chill out and do nothing, like, it was almost like I should have just went to work anyway, because I'm sitting here thinking about what I should be doing, how I should be, you know what I'm saying? And so once, like, it took years, and I still to this day have to remind myself, like, like, if my day got so busy, and I got my checklist, but I got my planner right here. Like, if I missed some shit on that planner and didn't get it done, then, like, girl, the type of verbal abuse that I do to myself is, like, ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? And I have to check that shit. Like, girl, get your whole life. Did you just say that shit to yourself? Like, for what? Like, is it that deep? Like, you know what I'm saying? I talk to myself like I'm talking to y'all. Like, girl, get your life. And I have to really, like, throw those thoughts the hell away. You know what I'm saying? And that's such
No,
a
that's
journey.
real.
And
That's
I
real.
think because life, like, attracts like, there are a lot of things in our character that's, like, super similar, even though you might disagree.
Yeah,
But
that's why I don't like you. That's why I don't like you for real, like you. Like, I love you, but I don't really like you sometimes. Okay? I keeps it all the way real. No,
but
but what you're saying is real.
that's
I'm like, I'm on here trying to talk about my story, and you just gave me a snippet of yours. Thank you. I appreciate it. I needed that. Okay?
no, because that's what this is about. Like, we are really having these conversations to help people on their journeys. You know what I'm saying? And these are things that, as humans, we all fucking do. Like, we are our worst critic. You know what I'm saying? Like, we do beat the hell up on ourselves. Okay. But anyway, okay, you got my makeup running and shit. Okay. So, so anyway, if if we had an individual, right, that, like, she sat down, he or she sat down and told you their story, and their story was, like, so traumatic that you were just like, oh my God, I am so glad I did not live that. Like, and they're sitting
You
there
said
and
you
they're
did, oh my God, you didn't what? You
you're
didn't live that
thinking,
life?
like, their story is so traumatic, you feel bad for them, but in the inside, you're like, oh my God, like, thank God I didn't have to live that life. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so traumatic. And they're asking you, you know, for just a little tidbit of advice, like just something to help them get through the fucking day, because it's so much pain to have to talk about the trauma, right? And I mean, it seems so painful that you might even break talking about it. So like how what what advice would you give?
First of all, I would say allow yourself to break because you got to feel what you need to feel in order to deal with it. That's one of the biggest steps is allowing yourself to feel the pain. That is how you get through the process. If you push against pressure, what happens? You create more pressure. But when you give in to the pressure, that is when you get relief. So, like you were saying, practice. Practice not self defecating. Practice not being negative with yourself. And when you find yourself doing that, check yourself. I love that because that's a practice. And I don't when you say that I'm kind of laughing on the inside, like I have to practice that because you've been conditioned for so long to deal with things a certain type of way. Like you said, when you have a belief system, until that thing is broke, that stronghold is broke. That's what a stronghold is. It's a belief system. Until it's broken down, there's nothing that really can penetrate that. Because if I believe that Jesus is the green man on the corner, ain't nothing you're gonna be able to do to tell me that he ain't green, right? Until I allow myself to see another way. Um, so practicing, um, practicing being kind to yourself, saying good things to yourself, it can be difficult. That's a hard one for me. Like looking in the mirror, telling myself, oh, "Girl, you are beautiful," right? Sometimes I don't feel the things that I've experienced don't make me feel that way. So to look in the mirror and tell myself that, it's like I have to face me. I have to face that. And I'm looking in my mirror over here now while I'm talking. I'm like, I have to face me and I have to be okay with the me that I see before I can move forward. Um, I will let people know that it's okay to not be perfect. It's okay to not get it all done in one day. It's okay to take a break. These things that I'm still practicing and still going through. I have not come on the other side to where I just do these things consistently. I have long periods of times where these things happen, and then I get into these spaces where when it's time to grow. That's a key thing. When you're growing and when things are changing, the trajectory of your life is changing. Things have to happen in order for you to grow. You have to experience a new thought process. And that comes with some pain. That comes with having to feel things you don't want to feel. It comes with being uncomfortable. And so I just give in to the pressure. That might sound crazy to some people, but what I mean by that is I allow whatever is going to happen. And I take from that experience what I need to take from that experience. If it's something that happened against me, okay, what is this? Why is it happening? Why did it happen this way? And it's not something that you got to just end up all day thinking about this stuff. It's not that. It's just being aware of where you are and being okay with taking things one day at a time. That's the key for me. One moment at a time turns into one day at a time. What am I doing right now in the moment? Because the whole world can be crumbling around me. And it's like in the crumble, in all the chaos and everything that's going on right now in this moment, what is it that I can be doing to keep myself safe, keep myself sane? Anything that is taking you outside of safety ain't good for you. I don't care who it is, what it is. It can be a parent, it can be a sibling, it can be a spouse. If you are not in a safe place mentally to handle, to talk about any of that, you need to remove yourself until you are able to deal with it. And for me, I don't take too long. I allow myself just a little bit of time, because what I don't want to do is go into depression and get stuck there because, oh, this is just too much for me. Um, but it's taken a lot of hard work to get there. It didn't used to be that way. I would fall into depression like that, like in an instant, because I didn't want to deal with what was going on. I would bottle up, and you can physically see it in my body that I was just in a space. Or when I talk, people were like, "Are you okay, friend? Like your voice, you don't sound right, you know."
Right.
And I'll be like, "Oh, I'm fine," you know. And then if you from the church, you be like, "Oh, I'm blessed." You're lying. You are blessed, but you got issues. And they want you to say things like, you know, "I'm blessed and highly favored, call those things that be not." God didn't put you in this earth to be no food. Deal with what's at hand, and that is, maybe you're not okay today. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to not do everything that you feel like you need to do in a day. And I have to practice that. I have to remind myself of that all the time. Because, like April was saying, if I'm not working, I'm a deadbeat. But I've been working all my life. Why can't I take a break? We don't realize some of the things that we do until we stop and just allow ourselves to breathe, allow ourselves to feel. And breathing for me, I remember last semester, I'm gonna use this as an example. Everything in the world was going on. I was having all these problems. I had some roommates. I don't really do roommates, but I tried this roommate situation because I live in this beautiful home. I believe God told me that it was my home. Actually, I'm getting ready to buy it, so amen. But it was just these situations going on. I was living with people that I love, and then it went bad. Um, it just out of nowhere. I don't even want to say out of nowhere. I think that my eyes were open to what was really happening around me. And when my eyes opened to what was happening around me, and I was able to accept what was happening around me, meaning, okay, this is really happening, but I still do love these people. So how do I handle this situation? Because I love these people, right? So all this chaos was happening around me, and I was losing it, man. I was like going 50-150. But I believed that this was my house. So there were some things that had to be done. And in that process, um, I really lost my thought. If I could keep it real with y'all, I was
Oh,
going through
so
work. I
you were
didn't even
talking
want to make it
about the roommate situation that you went through last semester. You really love these people, but you were
Oh,
having
okay.
conflict.
So now I'm getting ready to go into my first semester of college. After 20 years of being out of school. So I have all these different scenarios going on. My rent, utilities, all that, over $5,000 worth of bills. I'm just like, God, where is this coming from? I ain't a stripper no more. I'm I do hair. I make really good money when I do it, but I don't want to see a client because I'm stressed out because I'm tired, and my clients want to talk. My clients love talking to me. They love when I talk back. And if I don't talk, then they're going to think something's going on, and then I might have to share, just all these different dynamics. And then I said, God, I don't want to do hair right now. Not this semester. I haven't been to school in 20 years. This is college. It's a little different than high school. I'm going to have to do some hard work. It's going to take the power of God for me to get through these next 2 years to get this associate's degree so I can take that and go get the bachelor's and then the master's and then the doctorate, So yeah, there's work to be done, but there's things I got to cut out. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to cut that out. So I'm doing everything all at once. And I literally had a mental breakdown in the sense that I started crying out to God, and I was like, I just want to breathe. I just want to breathe. God, just help me breathe. That's all I want. I just want to breathe. I'm not breathing. I'm not breathing. And we don't even realize we go throughout the day without taking a real breath. When you breathe for real, you literally feel life come into your body. And I felt like I was dying because I had so much pressure around me. And I broke before people that, and I'm about to cry now, I broke before people that I would never break before. And these are strangers, people that I don't know. But as I broke before these people, it was humiliating, but I needed to be humble because I needed to allow myself to receive the help that I needed. A lot of times we have these guards up and we don't allow the help because it don't look like what we think it's supposed to look like. Or we're embarrassed that we need help because we feel like we should be in a place that further than where we are. And so I broke. I'm on this campus. I don't know these people and I'm crying and I'm saying, I just need help. I don't even know what the help is. I don't. I don't know what the help looks like for me right now, but I need help. And I'm praying and I'm like, God, just let me breathe. I just want to breathe. And here it goes, a whole team of people. When I tell you money started flooding in from everywhere, these people started giving me grants, everything that I needed to be covered was covered. And I even felt bad because I got all these people covering me. I'll go get on welfare if I need to get on welfare to get the help that I need to get. I'm not one of those people that get on welfare and don't utilize the resources. When I go to the government, I'm tapping every resource. I'm doing everything I can to get the help that I need. But I started feeling embarrassed that I was so needy because I'm not supposed to be in this place. But I kept breaking and kept crying. And I was out of what I call control. I allowed myself to lose control, and everything that I needed was supplied. But not only that, me crying out to God saying, just let me breathe. It was almost like He breathed for me. And I just felt this life come back into my body, and I knew my prayer had been answered. And there was just relief, like, wow, this is what it feels like to breathe. And it's just a breath. But how much are we not breathing? How long do we go through without oxygen? And we need oxygen for our brains to function properly. So we're out here living not even at the full capacity of the creature that we've been created to be. We have shut ourselves off from life and we don't know it because we just go with the flow of how the world goes and how we've been taught, how we've been conditioned, what tradition says. But I'm breaking all tradition. I'm breaking all the generational curses. I'm breaking everything because I just choose to live and I die like I want to live. I want to live. There's been times when I'm like, oh, just let me go to sleep. I don't want to even wake up. It's just too much pressure. But in the back of my mind, I want to live. And all it takes me to breathe, literally. Take some deep breaths. I practice that. When I'm feeling real bottled up, I just start taking deep breaths. And sometimes taking them deep breaths don't help, honestly, because I don't be breathing right. You gotta breathe for real breathe, you know. And so just breathe. If I can't tell you nothing else, just breathe. Take some time
Breathe.
to breathe. I have this you call this little Apple Watch. Girl, I don't be on this Apple stuff. I've been on Android forever. People be calling the Android, but Apple is just on a whole nother complication level for me. But I got an Apple Watch now or whatever, and it's funny because I never set anything up on this watch other than connecting it to my iPhone. And it's just the extra line that I have for business or whatever. But I've been wearing this watch, and periodically it'll ding. And the funny thing to me is, it's just the inside thing with me and God is, the watch tells me life is life is much better or something if you just breathe. And it was like when I first seen it, I was like, God, you didn't came through the watch, Jesus? Like, like, oh, you talking to me through the watch? But it was something that no one knew about. And it was like, all I want to do is breathe. And now this watch, without me even timing it might sound freaky, but every so often, and it be right in a time where I really need to breathe. And it'll say, just breathe. And I'm like, and I just feel so much relief. I scream a lot too, just so y'all know.
Yes.
Some people might think, but I just scream, I just yell, and it's because we need a release.
I was gonna say
my release used to be through sex. that was my place of release. Like all those endorphins, and it makes you feel real good. But when the sex is over, I still feel that. So once I got to a certain place in that addiction, I just was like, God, this ain't working. Like the sex, it doesn't work. I still feel all these things. What is this? And it's like you have to create those moments without going and giving your body away to every Tom, Dick, and Harry out here. So for me, it's breathing. Breathing is now my medication. It's now my wusa. It's now my life. Um, yeah. So
No,
I
I
don't know.
totally understand that. Anybody that's taking any of my courses or any of my programs, breathing is a fundamental
It's
thing.
important.
It's really fundamental. And as you were saying, once I started meditating, I didn't really realize how shallow of a breath I breathe on a normal basis, how really shallow my breath is. You know what I'm saying? And it is an instant calming down. Like people that like to smoke cigarettes, I heard that like people like to smoke cigarettes because of the deep inhale and exhale. Like you're actually breathing, and the smoking causes you to do that. That's why a lot of people say, I need to smoke a cigarette, I need to calm down, and it is some truth to that. Okay, so anyway.
Wait. Before you go to your next question, I'm about to interrupt your show because speaking of meditations, okay, this woman used to say about meditating, and she would do her hand like this, and she'd be talking all how she talks dramatically, and I'll be like, I'm caught up in this Christian kingdom, right? I'm being transparent right now. This Christian world where when people that love God too, right? They just have a different way of seeing things, a different perspective. She used to say certain things to me, talking about the universe, and I just was like, God, I don't know if I'm gonna have to cut her off. Is this the devil? Like, I ain't time for this witchcraft. What is she talking about? But I appreciate the fact that we have always been able to remain friends regardless of our differences. And I've learned over the years that a lot of times we be saying the same stuff and we just say it differently. I perceive things differently, so when it comes out a little different. But you be saying the same thing, and I remember you saying that to me one day. We saying the same thing, and I was like, we're not fucking saying the same thing. Excuse my language, but that's what I was saying to myself until God showed me that we were pretty much saying the same thing. And so, if I can offer any more advice to other people, is that sometimes, based upon what we've been through, we perceive things differently, and it comes off differently. And so, your help could very well be there, and you just ain't perceived it, like you just haven't picked up on it.
But that awareness would have never came if you weren't open-minded enough to allow it to come in. Like, I think if you would have had the same conversation with another human being that you didn't know as well as me, you would have it would have bounced off. Like, you would have totally not been receptive. But because you kind of love me a little bit, you know what I'm saying? You didn't want to dislike me. So it was like, hold on, I know my friend is not the devil. She can't really be the devil. But this shit sounds a little devilish. What's going on? And I am so glad.
I did my research.
Huh?
I said, I did my research.
No, but that's why I love my friends. You guys have such a varied personality types within my friends. They're on different spectrums. But what I love is that you guys respect me as a person, because I'm very animated. I'm very dramatic. It's like a fucking camera is following me around at all times of the day. That's just always been my personality. And so, just loving me through that's my new word, colorful, all of my colorfulness. I definitely appreciate it. And I appreciate your patience with just having enough respect for me that even though at the time You couldn't really see it. You know what I'm saying? But you respected me enough to even just listen and kind of take it in. You know what I'm saying? Because you come
Yeah,
along.
I did.
It's to be like, my friend is so stubborn. I was like,
Yeah,
she's
just because
so
I'm
stubborn.
like,
She's not even listening to me.
yeah, you can't just tell me anything. I gotta go research and all that. Like, because I've been told so many things, and we all have. We've been told and taught so many things, and we're expected to just go with. But one thing that makes me stand out from other people, and I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world, is that I don't just take what people say and run with it. I have to do my own research. I have to find what I need to find on my own. And sometimes that can be dangerous, especially if you have like a mentor or somebody trying to help you. However, it could be a trusted voice, but that trusted voice is not always 100% right. We all fall short. We all have spaces where we don't know what we're talking about. If we really admit it, like, oh no,
Yeah,
I could
especially
have
if you
been wrong
haven't
right
lived
there.
it.
Yeah, I could have been wrong right there. So, but yeah, I
And
don't
this
know
is
where I'm
not
going.
your zhush either. But everybody who watches my show, everybody knows me. I am so into astrology. And so, um,
You're right. This ain't my gist.
yeah,
I'll listen. I'll listen.
okay, so
However,
listen to this
I don't
shit.
have
Listen.
I don't have anything against astrology, right? I just don't live my life based upon it. I know it to be real. I know a lot of those things to be true. However, that's not my source. Let me just
Yeah,
say
like I
that.
said, it's
So,
not your zhush. It's not your
okay.
zhush.
Okay.
So anyway, having said that, you are a Sagittarius, and what I love about you, yes, I love this. I love a Sag too. I just love a Sag.
Uh-uh.
But anyway, yes, I
You,
do.
you're doing too much.
Yes, but anyway, so the Sag is first of all, you guys are humanitarians. You know what I'm saying? Like as blunt as you guys can be sometimes with no fucking filter. You guys really do love humans. You really do. You want them to win. And you're also here to experience because you guys are the philosophers. You know what I'm saying? And so you can't really be philosophizing if you ain't living and experiencing, right? And so, having said that, too, I want to talk about a lot of the stuff that you do for the community because we've kind of listened to your story, so we've seen this like particular theme where you are a caretaker, you are a nurturer, um, you do have a special place, like I said, in your heart for other people and wanting them to win, especially children, especially innocent people. Um, so kind of take me on that journey because I know for a time I'm not really sure of the years. We've been friends for too many damn years. But you really got really heavily in the church and you were really involved with finding mentors. You know what I'm saying? You were really wanting to absorb, I don't know what the right word is, but absorb spirituality. Like you were like thirsty for God, basically, you know? And so you came across mentors that led you on certain journeys. You received certain messages from spirit and you've done a lot of work. So just kind of go into that for us.
Um, I think that I've always known that I was supposed to work. First of all, I always wanted to be a teacher. I just never knew or realized in what capacity that was going to happen. After going to jail, getting a felony, dropping out of high school, I just never thought I could accomplish teaching anybody. Like that was just a dead end for me. Um, but I recognize that I thrive with children, and I have a heart to want to teach kids when they're young to be their authentic selves so that when they get my age, they haven't experienced all the trauma that I have trying to be somebody else. And so over the years, I was always the mom that had all the kids at my house, all the parties, all the functions, whatever the adults were doing, kids were doing it because I created it. And so that's what I do. That's my network. I create a space for youth to be able to thrive at whatever capacity they are at. If you do hair, I have a braid boot camp. If you want to make lip gloss, I have people I can connect you with to do that. If you want to sell eyelashes or whatever you want to sell, whatever you want to do in life, I try to connect youth with the proper resources to make that happen, no matter how old they are. If they're old enough to understand, they're old enough to start at that point. Because what we don't recognize is kids will be throwing a baseball and throwing it over the gate at 2, and we just look at it like they throwing balls. Like, this kid had an arm. This kid was able to throw that ball that far. We have to pay attention to those little things. So I kind of have an eye for that. So all these years forward, I got my cosmetology license. I went and got my high school diploma. I did all these things. And God had already been telling me I've had what they call prophetic words spoken over your life as to the path that you're gonna go on. Now, people have spoken these words, and it was only confirmation to what I already knew I was gonna be doing in life. And so, as these things come, it's like, okay, well, when is it gonna happen, God? Because I don't see this coming together. However, everything that I have experienced in my life has been perfect purpose specifically for this time period that I'm in at this time. And so a few years ago, I was asked to join a team, the Natural Hair Workshop. And what they do is create little, let me not say little because I don't want to downplay their business, but they create opportunities for different stylists to come in and teach classes, whether it's weave, braiding, like just whatever. So for me, I took it a step further. I did my first braid boot camp with youth. I wanted to try it with the kids. Now I do private sessions teaching people how to do different techniques in hair and stuff. But the braid boot camp was really successful in the sense that I literally could see my dream unfolding. And so these kids came in, some of them had no clue how to braid, but by the time came out of there, they were braiding. And that was just a 1 day session. And so then I took it and try to take it into the beauty schools because they don't teach you that in beauty school. People let me come in and do demos, and then some schools wanted me to come back and just give what I had, and they didn't want to pay me. And so I just couldn't bring myself to doing that. So I started having these sessions. I started out with 1 day sessions, teaching kids how to braid, coming up with little games and drills and stuff for them to do that. And as I began to put myself out there and just try, things began to open up. I started to see what the need really was. And the need is kids don't just need to learn how to braid hair. However, I'm going to use this as the vehicle to get these kids here, to instill in them what a lot of them don't have. Now, some of them do have parents that talk to them and train them in the way that they should go. Now, that says out in the Bible, right? Train up a child in the way they should go. And when they get older, they won't depart from it. But I think that we have that misconstrued. We use that scripture to benefit ourselves as parents and as humans because we put all these expectations on what we want for our kids to do on them. And it's not necessarily what they're supposed to do in life. And so even being a mom, I realized that I want my daughter to do and know everything that I do. However, there are some things in her that she wants to do and a path that she's taking, although it lines up with the path that I've taken in life and it will line up with the legacy that I'm trying to live, it's not what she wants to do. And so teaching these kids, and I'm watching them, I'm observing them, I'm just trying to see what they need. And so I started to talk to them individually and kind of customize their experience to who they are. I noticed that a lot of them were insecure. I'm someone that's always dealt with insecurities. I noticed that a lot of them are looking for acceptance and all the things that I've experienced and had to go through all this pain for. Now I'm getting all these kids that come in with the same bad attitude that I had, and nobody wanted to listen to me, or people didn't handle me properly because they didn't understand who I was and the path that I had in life. And so I try to utilize everything that I've learned and I pour out everything God gives me to these kids, basically. Um, and I create these programs, and I do it at, I don't think that it's like a really big thing, but people around me do. I do it because it's my heart to do it. And, you know, for a long time, people were like, well, you ain't gonna get paid, you ain't gonna get no money. And I said to someone this year, right before camp, if I never got a dime for it, I would still do it. Because a lot of kids that come to my camp, I provide a lot in my camp. I provide toolkits with everything they need to be able to do their service. I provide lunch. Sometimes I even provide breakfast. I know it's a 3 hour workshop each day. So Monday through Friday, this is what they're getting. And, you know, some kids haven't ate and they need to eat. So I'm not doing it because I want some money necessarily. Do I want to make money? Absolutely. I won't pretend like I don't. However, not at the account of these kids not getting what they need, and I have it. And where I come from, a lot of times it's what you got. What is it you can give me so I can get what I need? But for me, it's I want to give you this because it's been given to me freely. So now I want to pour that back into however many children that I can pour that into. And that means spending time. That means following up, not just while they're in camp, but periodically, if they cross my mind, I'll send their parents a text. Hey, how's this kid doing? What are they up to? And the parents love the camp. They absolutely love it. People want to take it to other places, but because I don't have the team that I want yet. I'm trying to build a team because it's bigger than me. Like I've been doing this stuff on my own for years, and it's it's been, you know, I put on shows. We do after camp. Let me slow down because I start getting excited. It started off one day, then it went to 3 days, then it went to a week for camp, and now I'm at 4 week sessions. So my first 4 week session happened last year. August 4th, we had an all youth hair show. What this entailed was the youth did all the work, they got all their training, and then they presented. They presented their work to the community, to their family members, and the turnout was bigger than what I even projected myself. Like it was a lot of people there. I had youth vendors there, kids who have their own businesses. It was an opportunity because at most events you see adult vendors. So my thing is, why can't it be a youth that has their own business? Because there's a lot of kids out here who have started their own businesses or trying to. And so that's what we did. And we put on the show, and the show was great. And then they ended up putting it in one of the local papers, and I got these little printouts for them with the newspaper articles because that encouraged them. You know, when they come to camp, they don't just come to camp to braid. Some of these kids talk to me, they share about their family life, like all these things. And so for me, it's important for me to get me right because I don't never want to give a kid nothing that's not real. I don't never want to give them anything that is not beneficial to their success. So I just be working on me so that I can pour out to these kids so they can do what they need to do. And I have kids in my camp. One of my camp kids, she painted my garage. I have a salon that I built in my garage as well as a school. So it's set up like a school on one side and the salon on the other. One of my kids painted the wall. I gave her a job. She can paint. She made her some money just by painting the wall. You know, I have kids who do an exceptionally well job on doing hair. So people are always asking me, like, do your kids do hair? So now I've moved into a new phase as to where they call me. And now, like, beauty schools are set up. I'm set up as to where people are calling in at a discounted rate because these kids are beginners still. They're able to, for those that love to do hair, they're able to have clientele and they making this money and they being robbed, you know. So just all these different opportunities we provide. I have different speakers come in and talk to them about finances and saving money, how to start businesses. Like it's it's a lot that they get in this 4 week period of time. And then they put on a show and they have a moment to display. And that part is the part that I love the most because they get so excited. Like last year, they created their outfits. I mean, I helped them, of course, but they came up with everything. It was theirs, not them going and being a part of a hair show and having to do all these things that grown-ups want us to do and try to be overly perfect. And no,
So
it's
does
not
the
anything
4 weeks, so like, do you have it like in semesters, or does the 4 weeks just start when they pay, or like how does that work?
so yeah, so right now I've been doing it summertime, um spring break, winter break, just during the different breaks. However,
Exactly.
um come next year, um I can't really give a time frame because I'm just trying to make sure that I said early next year. That would be my goal. However, realistically, with everything that goes on in my life, I'm just gonna say sometime next year I will be opening my school, my program, to where it will run every day, every day. So, like I
Right.
said, I'm trying to come up with the right people because people have tried to connect with me that are not good. People think that I'm making all this money off these kids, and the funny thing is that I'm not. Like everything that I purchase is out of my own pocket. Like I work hard and I do these things, but I am in a place where I'm like, dang, I do need to come up with a better system because I'm putting out a lot of money, but I'm not pulling money in. And so
Exactly.
as far as business is concerned, that's a problem. Like
Yeah.
my heart and my business, they ain't lining up. They gotta get married right quick. And so
Exactly.
yeah, but yeah,
And we'll
that's
work that out where you can get investors, you can get sponsors, you know what I'm saying?
so yeah. Um, Anybody that would like to donate to Brave Boot Camp and whatever what I do with these kids, I have a Cash App account set up. It's hashtag Brave Boot Camp, all caps. Um, and then, or you can get in contact with me if you want to send a check or whatever. Some people are old school. Everybody don't have Cash App, but that's really the only means, or PayPal. And I'm real I guess I'm real old school. I'm like an old lady when it comes to this social media stuff. I do have a page up. However, the content is not updated because I'm doing everything by myself. On top of I have a 13, oh my God, my phone is
Oh,
about to
don't do it, girl.
I have a 13-year-old daughter that I'm raising, on my own. Her father is in prison. Um, and I'm going to school, I'm doing all these different things all at once. And so I can't get to social media. So if there's anybody out there that's really good at that I think that they can run that page for me, I'm willing to compensate someone
I
to do
know,
that.
because
Um,
there are, you too. We're all looking for. There's like 3 people I know that are looking for assistance.
yeah.
So if
So
anybody is good in that, and I've hired and fired an assistant, like, so yeah, that shit is real crucial. It's really crucial.
yeah.
Okay, so we have the Brave boot camps. um, we're gonna, I guess, stay tuned. Do you have a website that you like keep updated with what you got going on?
So the Brave Boot Camp is mainly on Instagram, and there is a Facebook page. However, I do have a landing page. It's still under construction because I've restructured my entire business. So if you see Kingdom Beauty Empire, that is me. And what Kingdom Beauty Empire is everything that has to do with beauty. And beauty for me is being your authentic self. It's not so much about the outward adornment, but the inward part. Um, and then getting your hair done and all that, that's just an enhancement. So I've brought all of my businesses under this one umbrella, basically. So I sell hair. I got bundles. Kingdom Beauty Empire is the website for that. If you need some bundles for your hair, okay. I have braiding hair. I have another website. It's kingdombeautyempire2.com. That's where you can go get all your beauty supplies and whatnot. There's bundles and stuff on there as well. Kingdom Beauty Empire's page, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not talking too fast. Let me slow down. So there's a page called kingdombeautyempire.com where you can buy your bundles and your frontals and all that stuff. That's more of a high-end type of hair. It's also it's under construction in the sense that there's going to be more content uploaded on there with all of my businesses, everything that I am, my entire legacy, what I do. It's a landing page. So when you go on there in the near future, you'll be able to click on a button. It'll take you to Braid Boot Camp. It'll take you to Innovative Hair Expressions, the different aspects of what I do. But as of right now, you can go buy bundles if you like. And then the Kingdom Beauty Empire 2.com, you're able to buy hair supplies, and there's bundles on there as well. It's really good hair. However, it's not the quality that you would get at the other page. It's more of a cheaper, it's a downgrade from that hair. But I make it affordable for everybody. I want everybody to be able to shop. So
Exactly.
I'll be trying to reach the masses.
That's right.
So yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, so now we're doing hair. We basically, pretty much have like a nonprofit ordeal going on. We just need to get that thing organized. So tell me something you would like to close out with.
Just be yourself. I can't stress that enough. Like, that's just the journey that I'm on, period. And it's brought me so much life. It's helped me build healthy relationships with people, intimate and just regular with my family. So just be yourself. And anybody that is worth being in your sphere of influence, if they can't accept you for who you authentically are, then they don't deserve to be around you, because you're important, you're beautiful, you're loved, and that's just it. Like, you're everything, and start to believe that you're everything. And when you don't feel that you're everything, still tell yourself that. So that's pretty much, I could talk forever. I got all the stories. I got just these are just snippets, of my life. And I'm sure in the near future that people will hear more, and I'll be able to share more at another time. However, I'm in transition myself. And the main thing is just being yourself. And like April was saying, being okay with where you are in the moment. Right now is a perfect moment, because if it don't go the way that I want it, it's a reason for it. What is that reason? I might not always know, but it'll come. It will come. It will come. So just be yourself.
Well, thrivers.
When I say be yourself, I mean maintain your integrity, because there is a lack of integrity in the world. There is a lack of it. And integrity means that when nobody else is watching you, what are you doing and what are you saying? Not just to you, but in general. What is your thought process? Because that's important. People are searching for people with integrity. Investors are looking for people with integrity. Philanthropists want businesses who have integrity. We have lost integrity, period. Like, it's rare to find someone who is going to be the same always. And I try to tell people, like, how I'm talking to you right now, I'm gonna go to church, I'm gonna be the same way. Exactly. I'm considered a rebel because I don't adhere to everything, but this is me today, it's gonna be me tomorrow. And unless I grow into a place where change needs to happen, so just be yourself, but don't be fake. Don't be fake. Fake always comes out. Like, you always get exposed when you fake.
And then you attract different things to you, so here's where our verbiage gets a little different, is that we are vibrational magnets, right? So it's like, whoever you are is what you're going to attract to you. So even if you're being, how sometimes when people are not really secure with their identity, they, you use the words conform. you know, you conform to whoever you're around at that point, being whoever you think that they want you to
Mm-hmm.
be. And so in those moments, you are attracting that type of energy to you. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever met someone where like their obstacles aren't necessarily a common theme? It's like shit coming from everywhere, you know, because that person is not living their authentic life. You know what I'm saying? So they're being a magnet for all of these things, you know, that are all these characters basically that they're being. So, Thrivers, we want to give Miss Sunshine a round of applause. And I want to thank you so much, friend, for your time because, honey, your time is
Yeah,
so
we went
valuable.
way over.
I know you're so busy. I've got 101 things going on. So I do appreciate, with my heart of all hearts, you taking the time to talk to me and to be a part of my show and just to share a little bit with us of your journey. So, Thrivers, happy Tuesday. We love you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of You Thrive Every Day. We will see you guys again 2 Tuesdays from now with another episode and another great interview. So, you guys have a great day. You guys are loved, and we will talk